This video is going to show you how to complete page 144 out of your math book. It says, imagine that a piece of the rectangular prism is removed. So here was the rectangular prism, and it looks like they cut out a little chunk and they just scooted it over here. I want you to determine the surface area of both pieces. So I want to remind you that when they're asking you to find the surface area, you got to be asking yourself, what's the total area of all the sides added together? So you want to find the area of each one of the sides and then add them together, okay? So if this were a full prism, rectangular prism like this, you would find the area of this side, this side, this side, this side, this side, and this side, and add them all together, okay? And you'll see that it's very similar, but all they did was took a chunk out and put it to the side. So the same technique will still apply, where you find the areas of every single part of the prism, okay? And then you'll add those all together. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this prism right here, and I'm going to go ahead and find the surface area of it. So I'm going to use different colors for each one of the prisms so that you can distinguish between them. So for everything that has to do with this prism, I'm going to write it in purple, okay? And you'll see that there's a lot of faces to this prism, so it's going to be kind of a lot of work. So I'm going to go ahead and start on, I'll shade it and I'll do this one right here first, okay? And you got to remember, if there's this side right here, there's also the exact same image on the other side back here. It's kind of hard to picture when it's on paper. So the area for, I'll call it the front and the back sides. And you'll see it's just a rectangle, so it's length times width. Okay, and something that I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this quantity by 2. And the reason I did that is because I have one of these right here, and then the same thing on the other side. So that's why I'm multiplying it by 2. And I think it's a little bit, it's faster than just being like, okay, we'll do this one and then we'll do this one. Since I know that they're already exactly the same dimensions, I'm just going to take those dimensions of this one and multiply it by 2. Okay? So 6 times 3 is 18. So I have 2 multiplied by 18. And 2 multiplied by 18 is 36. So the surface area of this face right here and the one back here combined is 36 inches squared. I'm going to go ahead and circle that so I remind myself, hey, that's one of the faces that you're going to, those are 2 of the faces that I'm going to need to add at the very end to find the total surface area of this prism right here. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and find the area of this back side right over there, okay? And I'll label that area seen from the left, if you're looking at it right there, and also from the right. And I'll go into more detail about this right-hand side in just a second. So let's go ahead and label that area seen from left, like the left view, and right. Okay, so I see the dimensions are, it's 3 by 12. All right, and now we know that there are 2 sides to this. So there's this side, and then there's also this side. And I'm going to show you what's going to match up with this. It's 3 by 12. Well, I know it's going to be 3 tall, but the 12 inches, you add this 3 inches, plus this 6 inches to get 9 inches, plus this right here is 3 more inches. So 3 plus that 9 right there is 12. So just because it indents right there, it doesn't matter. You gotta picture it as kind of flush, because I'm just finding the area of this guy, and this guy, and those 3 guys would match up with the area of this back right there, okay, as seen from the left. So I'm going to go ahead and take that value and just multiply it by 2 to account for not only this side, but these sides right there, okay? So that would equal 3 times 12 is 36, and we're going to double it. So that would give me 72 inches squared, okay? So now I circled it because I know I got to add those areas at the very end to get the total surface area of this. Okay, so all that's left would be, let's see, this little section right here and its friend on the other side that you can't see, okay? And in addition to that, I need the top and the base. So I'm going to start with these cute little guys right there, and this one that you can see, and then this one that you can't necessarily see from here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and figure out the dimensions of those. From here to here is 3 inches, and then the height of that is also 3 inches, so it's a 3 by 3, okay? And this side is also the same as well. 3 inches right here and 3 inches tall, okay? So to find the area of those, let's go ahead, I'm going to call them extra sides. Area of extra sides. And that was 3 times 3 for one of them, but we know that there's 2 of them because we got this guy and then the one right there. So multiply it by 2. 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 9 is 18. And that gives me 18 inches squared. Alright, now all that's left, like I mentioned earlier, is that top piece and that base, okay? And to represent the names of those, I'll just say area of top and base, okay? And again, it's going to be in purple to represent this prism right here. Area of top and base. Okay, so I know that, well, it was once a rectangle, but we took this chunk out. And what I could do, since it's now a compound shape, I could take, find the area of this, cut that off into a rectangle, find the area of that, cut this off into another rectangle, find the area of that, and then find the area of that, and add them all together. But that's kind of a lot of work. So since I know it was originally a rectangle, I'm going to start with the original rectangle area and then just subtract this little piece right here, okay? That's much faster for my brain anyway, okay? So originally it was 6 by 12. And that's just the top, so I got to multiply it by 2 to get to the bottom. And then I'm going to subtract this chunk right here, okay? And that chunk is, let's see, 3 by 6. So I'm going to subtract that 3 times the 6, but remember, that's just for the top. We also have to worry about the base, so I'm going to multiply that by 2, okay? All right. So from here, we need to go 6 times 12, which is 72, for that entire rectangle, but we're going to multiply that by 2 to account for the base. Are you following me? But since there is that chunk missing, we have to subtract that. Okay, and I'm going to simplify here. Be 2 times 18. And the reason I have the 2 is because, well, there's that, it was up there, and it's also in the base. Okay, we have to subtract that. So 2 times 72 is 144 inches squared. Subtract 2 times 18, which is 36. So when I go 144, subtract 36, I get 108 inches squared. So that is the area of both the top and the base. Now to find the surface area, we need to add every single one of those that I circled to find the total surface area of this prism right here. I'm going to call it a purple prism. If you're not using purple, you should probably name it something else. When I add that all together, I'm just going to show my work here. 36 plus 72 plus 18 plus 108 inches squared would give me a grand total of 234 inches squared as the total surface area of this prism. Now the next prism, I'm going to go ahead and do all of its work in this kind of a lime green color. And we also have to find the surface area of this prism, okay? So it's surface area. I'll just kind of try to fit all the work right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to start with, see, like this front side and that back side. Kind of try to draw it in right there. Okay, so to find the area of, yeah, that's a square. It's length times width. Well, I better label that. So area of front and back sides. So it's 3 times 3 length times width for just this one. But I'm going to multiply this quantity by 2 because this back side right there is also 3 by 3. And to save myself some time, I'm just multiplying by 2 because I know they're exactly the same. So 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 9 gives me 18. And it's in inches. And we're finding the area, so it's inches squared, or square inches, same thing. I'm going to circle that so I know at the very end, hey, you got to add all those things I circled together to get your grand total surface area of this prism. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the area of the left side as you're looking at it from right here, and the right side, okay? Area of left and right sides. Okay, so this right side right here, it looks like it's a 3 by 6. But remember, we got this side and then one right there. So I'm going to multiply that by 2. So it's really 2 times 18. 2 times 18 is 36. And then we're going to label it inches squared. Again, circling that because I know I need to add that at the very end to all the other surface areas of the other faces of this in order to get the total surface area. Okay? Alright, now what's left is the top and the base, okay? So I'm going to label that area of top and base. That's his area. Okay, so area of the top, it's a 6 by 3. So 6 times 3 is what I have to write, or 3 times 6. And I have to multiply that by 2 because there are 2 of those with those same dimensions. Okay, so I have a 2 times the quantity of 18. 2 times 18 is 36 inches squared. Gotta circle that. Okay, let's double check to make sure we accounted for all the sides. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. Each one of these represents 2 sides, so I have enough. So now I need to find the, or write down the total surface area and find it. And it's the green prism, and if you didn't use green, don't call it a green prism. You can say second prism or something. And to find that, we have to go 18 plus 36 plus 36. When we add all those 3 little areas of those surfaces together, you should get 90 inches squared. I'm going to put a big old rectangle around that, okay? The next part of this question says, how is the surface area in part A related to the surface area in part B? Well, part A was on the previous page, which is on a previous video. So I'm just going to kind of refresh your memory. Basically, in part A, they asked us to find the surface area of the whole thing. It was pretending that this was still intact right there, okay? And when we found that this was still in there, the surface area was equal to 252 inches squared. Okay, when it was all together, that was what the total surface area was. Okay, now let's compare that to what we found in this part right here, part B. When we took out the chunk, the surface area, once we took out the chunk and put it right there, the surface area was 234 inches squared. Okay, and you'll see that it's less than what it originally was. However, when you find the surface area of this right here, that chunk that was taken out, you'll see that the surface area was 90 inches squared. And when you add 234 inches squared of this shape right here to this 90 inches squared surface area of this shape right there, when you add those together to get the surface area of the separate pieces added together, you would get 324 inches squared. Okay, so what this question is asking you to do is, how are these related? What do you notice about this? When it was all one piece, this was its surface area. When it was separate pieces, and I find the surface area of this and the surface area of this, and I add them together, I get 324 inches squared. So what do you notice about when you separate it? You should hopefully notice that the surface areas, there's more surface area if you keep the prisms separate. And if you're like, well, how can there be more surface area if you separate them? It's because of this. See how we have an extra little surface area of this little inside chunk right there? When these pieces are put together, that's not there. So since they're taken apart, it's taken apart and separated, we have that additional little surface area right there that we got to add. And that is why you have more surface area when the pieces are separate than when they're together.